Hello, everyone. I want to make sure I'm in the right space. Let's see if I'm on my personal profile or in my group. Okay, I am. Perfect. So, hi, everyone. My name is Marina, and I am a spiritual and business mentor for spiritual entrepreneurs. I've designed an amazing program called Coalescence. I'll just do the pitch right now to tell you what it's all about, because I personally am really tired and I have been very much affected in various ways by different schools of thoughts when it comes to developing online and spiritual businesses of various kinds. There are very two polarizing schools of thought of strategy and action and intuition and flow. And it is my mission and my job now to coalesce the two to create magic. So today I want to talk about a very sensitive topic especially for empaths, for highly sensitive people, for people who think that emotions are actually in the way of them creating consistency. And I'm here to dispel that myth today. So I want to go ahead and start off with one of the major paradigms that keeps whoever is on here, say hi, because I can't see who it is. Just drop me a comment, let me know who you are. Please feel free to ask me questions. I want to go ahead and start off by dispelling the myth that emotions, which is naturally a feminine energy, is something that gets in the way of consistency, which we perceive as a yang or a masculine energy in business. And a lot of feminine energy people, a lot of very feminine entrepreneurs who are highly empathic and spiritually sensitive, energetically sensitive, fear not being able to show up consistently because of just how deeply and just how often you feel these emotions, and how to go ahead and navigate through them in a way that actually creates consistency in your business by learning how to navigate them. So I want to go ahead and dispel a very common myth that is present in spiritual communities, that if something feels emotional and like weird and like awkward, that somehow, or uncomfortable for that matter, if it doesn't feel good and like a full body yes, then it's somehow out of your soul's alignment, that somehow you're like not walking the right path, and that you have to like steer clear and completely change up your whole entire path. So this is one of the biggest myths that I see with spiritual entrepreneurs, and how it actually gets you off of your trail, and how it actually gets you off of the path that you feel like you should be on, right? So imagine if, for instance, if you're walking along a nature trail, if you're going for a hike in the forest, and imagine if like every single upslope or downslope in the trail causes you to question, am I on the right trail or not? Like, is this the right path? Like, imagine how much would you be actually outside of your present moment and your present beingness of actually being able to enjoy this experience and enjoy the path, if every step of the way and if every time the trail turns into an upslope or a downslope, you end up questioning of whether or not you're on the right trail. You will literally be sitting around there spinning in circles. And especially, here's the other downfall that a lot of highly sensitive spiritual entrepreneurs face, is that you get bombarded with messages of this kind of polarity in the online space, of like, oh, the trail has an upslope, you're in the wrong trail. Oh, the trail has a downslope, no, you're not doing it right. Instead of actually being like, fuck off, everybody, I'm walking on this trail and I know it's the right trail because I just know it, right? Like, whenever you're walking on the trail, you don't question it. Like, it's like right there, no matter what kind of ups or downs it has in it. So I want to go ahead and have you start dispelling this myth for yourself, that somehow any kind of discomfort in a way, or whenever an emotional tide does come up, makes you question things and makes you be like, oh, I don't know, my coach told me to do this, but I don't know, oh, fuck. That it's not necessarily that you're on the wrong trail. It's just yet another upslope or downslope. So the whole notion of discomfort, meaning that it's unaligned, right? Or awkward. I shouldn't say discomfort, because a lot of you are familiar with the uncomfortable actions of expanding your energy field and taking uncomfortable actions. I want to start to get you to think about that whenever you do experience emotions and heightened emotions, that it's not necessarily you're on the wrong path, and it's not necessarily that all of a sudden you're not going to be successful in business because you have fears come up today, you have doubts in yourself come up today, right? So the whole notion of discomfort and these emotional tides actually being in the way of your consistency. The biggest thing here is learning how to navigate them, is learning how to actually utilize them in order to create that consistency. I saw a heart. Whoever is here and whoever is listening, please say hi. I'm talking about how emotions are actually the very thing that can and will cause you consistency in your spiritual business. So the second notion that I want to talk about, that because you hear so many people like yelling at you saying like, oh, any single upslope or downslope, or your fears are this and your fears are traumas caused by this and this, and it causes this money block, which is why you can't get clients, you literally are gonna spin yourself into a web and you're gonna be like, what the fuck? I'm like, it's going to get you even more downward the spiral of your emotional tide, rather than handling it on your own, right? Rather than knowing that, hey, this is just an upslope or a downslope in the trail, not necessarily meaning all of a sudden I'm out of alignment somehow. Sorry, I had to take a breath. So here's one more thing that I want to add to this before I move on to my next point about the guilt or the shame that you experience by receiving all these messages, is I want to get it through to your mind that there's no such thing as actually like a wrong path in any of it. If you truly hold the intention of creating a spiritually highly impactful business out of integrity, you're gonna get there. So I'm gonna share a quick story from this morning that has led me to this epiphany. I took a walk down to the ocean from like a cliff, and it was like through a forest. There was a trail through a forest that went downhill to the ocean. At the bottom, there was a creek that you had to cross, and the trail led pretty much like most of the way down there. Once I got down there, there was a creek that I had to cross, and it was like cumbersome, and this is where I got all up in my head. I'm like, oh shit, well, like there's no trail here. Do I have to cross the creek? What do I do? So then I crossed the creek. I like kind of slipped on a rock and fell. I was like, fuck, that sucked. But then I kept walking across the creek and I could see the ocean. It was right there, but there was no trail to it. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I bushwhacked and I still got to the ocean and I still took my dip. I still went into the water. And here's where I thought, I was like, wow, this path is uncharted. But did it matter if I went through one bush or another? Did it matter if I crossed the creek over here on those rocks or those rocks over there? No. Like, I could see the ocean. It's clear as day. It's right there. So it doesn't matter what kind of rock or a path gets me there, right? So I want to get it through to your mind that there is no such thing actually as the wrong path. So going back to my first point is this whole like feeling like whenever you're feeling these emotional tides that all of a sudden somehow you're experiencing misalignment, right? Instead of just an emotional tide. And because you're getting bombarded by these polarized messages from other people, you're getting completely bombarded saying that, oh, unless you clear out your trauma and your money blocks, then you'll never be successful. Unless you break up with that dude, or unless you eat better foods, all of a sudden that you can't be successful, right? You're getting completely bombarded as you're already experiencing an emotional tide. Like, it's going to completely make you spin out of control. And then here's the other thing that fucks you even more into this kind of emotional turmoil is you start to experience guilt. You start to experience shame. You get more into your victim mindset. You start looking for crazy solutions of how else can you pour money on this situation by seeking more mentorship, more coaches, by seeking more solutions instead of just riding out the emotional tide, knowing that there's nothing actually wrong with experiencing it fully and seeing how can I use these emotions you see to then create my next step in my business. Does that make sense? Is this landing with you guys? Let me know if this is landing before I go on to my next point, which is feeling like your emotional gifts are a burden, like your emotional sensitivity is somehow a burden. Let me know if this is landing with you guys. I had to take a breath before I move on because I get super passionate about this topic. Lastly, There is an amazing, beautiful woman that I spoke with today who mentioned a big problem that a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs face, and that is feeling like your gifts are a burden. Feeling like, why am I so sensitive? Because I've been taught that in order for me to like show up and have consistent success in my business, I have to have my energy on point, on fleek all the time. I have to show up in my fullest, expansive way, ready to serve, ready to do live streams, ready to put out posts, and ready to just send it. And yeah, great. However, you are still a human, and especially if you're a woman and if you're a spiritual entrepreneur, you guys, this is never going to work. You're never going to create consistency or a sustainable business out of it. You're going to burn yourself into adrenal fatigue. Okay, like if you don't handle these emotional tides as a way to ride the wave into the consistency instead of viewing them as a burden, you are constantly going to be fighting yourself if you view these emotional sensitivity gifts as a burden. And whenever, like, yet again, polarized messages that we hear, oh, you have to be in this expansive state of being, always charismatic, always showing up consistently, always doing live streams, always providing value, and always serving. You guys, like, I have experienced this firsthand of feeling like how I am as an emotional, intuitive empath is somehow not okay. And do you guys know what happened? I started experiencing relationship issues. I started experiencing crazy insomnia and anxiety. I started experiencing migraines, and I went to a Reiki practitioner who told me that I was also on the verge of adrenal fatigue. There's a reason why a lot of high-performing women actually experience adrenal fatigue and problems like these is because they don't know how to handle these emotional tides to then create consistency. So this emotional sensitivity is not here to throw you off your path. It's not here to fuck you up. It's not here to make you spin around in circles thinking whether or not you're on the right trail. It's actually here for your benefit. It's actually here for you to unravel a deeper part of yourself if you only choose to ride that wave in a way that's not self-sabotaging. Okay, if you only choose to ride that wave in a very acknowledging and loving way, in a very accepting way, not in a way of that somehow it's in your way of your path of consistency and business success. Because the minute you start looking at it that way, you're going to start getting into a fight with yourself. Having said all of the above, as I mentioned at the beginning of this live stream, this is what has inspired me to create this program called Coalescence. There's two different tiers of it, and right now I only have 2 spots open for the longer term immersion. But it's this coalescence of the two, strategic implementation as well as energetic and emotional support. I have created a process that is from the bottoms of my heart and soul based on all the troubles and the market research that I've gone through both, right? Like, because I've done both. Why do people collapse under pressure after doing certain kind of emotional and energetic adjustments? And why do certain strategies not work and others do? What is it? Like, who is actually right in this cockfight of strategy versus intuition? And I have created a process that honors both the energies within you, because you are both at every single point in time, and how to utilize those energies of your how would I put this, of your action taking, consistently showing up masculine energy, as well as these emotional tides. How can you ride through them to make sure that you are staying consistent, to make sure that you don't go down the path of deep self-sabotage? And that's what I created my process in Coalescence with, to establish market research and all those barf-worthy, like, good, I'd rather puke in the bushes than establish business and marketing foundations. I've established the process specifically for the empathic spiritual entrepreneur, and weaving in with my notion of energy work to help dispel a lot of these myths of not enough, of every time an emotion shows up, of feeling like it's somehow in a way of your success, of helping you ride the wave and empowering you with a process and a tool to make sure you could actually use those emotional tides to help propel you onto the next. And right now, I'll give you a potent example, you guys. Like, I was experiencing heavy, crazy emotional anxiety earlier in the day. And at the end of the day, like I have created an amazing live stream, an amazing post because of it that others can, I know, very deeply can relate and be like, hey, this is like, yeah, I totally feel you. I'm sick of the polarized messages that I'm receiving, right? So this is created with specifically you, the spiritual entrepreneur, in mind, the one who is highly sensitive and the one who does feel like they're burdened by their gifts, the one who fears the whole word of consistency and feels like you're too sensitive or intuitive to ever have that implement in your business. And I am here to show you how. I'm here to guide you through how to actually navigate and coalesce those energies to make sure they don't fight each other anymore, and to get you the consistent business results that you want, as well as spiritually develop you along the way, because those two happen in conjunction. As a spiritual entrepreneur, you most likely have chosen this path because you do want to expand and evolve at a high rate. And this is the best way to do it, because not only are you expanding financially, you're expanding your masculine energy, but you're also expanding your feminine energy and your spiritual gifts, because every step of the way is going to provide you with some sort of an emotional tide to ride. So, like I said, I only have 2 spots open left for the immersion coalescence. I do have a shorter program for a spiritual wizard who simply needs help on their marketing foundations and who has their emotions straight. However, if you are an intuitive, highly sensitive, empathic being who wishes to create business foundations as well as energetic foundations, then the more long-term 3-month immersion is for you. So PM me to apply. I'm going to drop my link over here. It costs you nothing to talk to me to see if you qualify for either tier of my coalesced approach. Invitation into Marina's work. There we go. And on that note, I am going to sign off for the night and go enjoy the sunset. I hope you have a wonderful day. Mahalo. Mwah.